Perfect. So I'm gonna go over, I got my new REI Superlight Bivy. I used it this weekend. I'm gonna let you know what I think, but I'm gonna show you my customized setup first. This next bit that I have did not come with the Superlight Bivy sack. I'll explain why I'm doing this, but you'll see some of the customizations I had made. And this is just a $20 tarp that I bought, kind of an aftermarket thing. The bivy itself was just, if you look down through here, obviously it's just the bivy. And one thing I did do to the bivy itself was I came in with some waterproof spray. It says it's waterproof and breathable, but I still just reinforced the seam with some Camp Dry. Another thing that I did is you can see at the top of the bivy right here, it's got a, I'm not even sure what it's for, but this little loop. It's on the front and the back. I attached a guy line to each, and now what I've done, I set this up really quick here. When you're out on the field, I would typically go a lot slower and just get it set up just right. However, one thing I read in all of the reviews was that water tends to pool. Actually, if we can look underneath here, you can see where on the bivy itself, at the what would be the ridge line of the bivy, if I didn't have these guy lines on it to pull it out, it could kind of sink down in the middle. And from what I'd read, it can cause water and waterproofing issues. So I decided I'm gonna I took inspiration from an old pup tent, using the tarp and the two trekking poles on the end and just some simple aluminum stakes into the tarp. Not only does this add a layer of protection on top from water, but it also adds a place for those guy lines to be pulled out too and kind of pull that bivy tight. This worked phenomenally for me. I had no issues with water moisture, and this tarp can obviously be adjusted as needed. Another thing that I did was I just have a small fan, and I used this when I was camping. It's a small luxury item that I really like to have, but this goes low, medium, or high. This O-Polar one does. In this small bivy, it created a wind tunnel that just really blew that wind around inside there. So typically when I set this up, so this is what we like to call, I've dubbed porch mode. The reason being is this: I found when I'm out there, this is where I sit and I take my shoes off. And then it's nice because I have a place when I need to tuck my shoes up underneath for the rain if necessary. But once you've got, you know, I would have spent more time customizing, but once you got your perch mode set, and I typically would have my thermarest pad in here and my sleeping bag and all of that, but I like to just put my feet in and then flip around. And now this goes up a little bit. So this sits up, but is the way I have it rigged up right now because I hooked it up all fast. I'm 5 feet tall, but I've had people that in here that are 6 feet. I am completely comfortable in here. It's a bivy. So obviously coming in here and doing things like changing your clothes when it's 90 degrees outside, it's gonna be difficult. There's nothing that you can do about that. Check out a different video if you want to see me struggling to change a tank top in 90 degrees. But once again, there's gonna be some condensation inside in the morning when you wake up because it's a small sack and you're breathing a lot. I use that small fan with just this mesh netting. I had zero problems with bugs. I didn't have problems with condensation with the fan, but I will say I absolutely love and recommend this thing. Obviously, torrential downpour, that's why I went the extra mile and created some extra protection for myself. So my bivy sack or my bivy tent is less than a pound, and my tarp is a pound. So altogether, this is 2 pounds for me. And you could go hammock, you could go another way, but I like being on the ground, and I really liked it. The trekking poles being in their lowest position, it actually created a place for the wind couldn't get under quite as much and scoop it up, and I really liked it. I would recommend it for people who aren't claustrophobic. Me and Maggie don't mind mummy bags either, so I think if you don't like mummy bags, if you don't like a small confined space, obviously the bivy tent is not going to be right for you. But if those types of like space restrictions aren't a no-go for you, then I strongly suggest getting one of these. The setup is super easy. If you know it's not going to rain and you don't have to deal with the tarp, setup is insanely fast. It's 4 stakes and a tent pole. So go get yourself a REI co-op bivy. I have no complaints other than it's hard to change in when it's 90 degrees outside.
That's why you go behind that tree.